My wife came up with the whole shindig, a big holiday bash at the community center, packed with buddies, neighbors, and folks from work. She was dead set on us going, even though I wasn't exactly itching to rub elbows with a crowd. I'm not big on hordes of people or chit-chatting with near strangers, but man, her eyes sparkled with excitement, and that red dress made her glow like a Christmas star. Her enthusiasm was contagious, so I caved without much of a fight. The night kicked off easy enough. I hung back, sipping a drink and shooting the breeze with a couple of colleagues while she glided around, charming the socks off everyone like it was her job. I kept my eyes on her, always do. She's got this pull, like a magnet, drawing folks in, and though I trust her, I'd be lying if I said I didn't notice the looks she got. It wasn't until later, when I was already thinking about heading home, that I realized she'd vanished. 1 second, she was by the dessert table, giggling with her pals, the next, poof, she was nowhere in sight. I scanned the room, trying to spot her familiar shape, but the place felt more packed now, the lights softer, dimmer. Then the music shifted, slow and cozy, and that's when I saw them. Across the room, near the edge of the dance floor, she was swaying with some guy I didn't know, a tall, cocky jerk with slicked back hair and a grin that made my jaw clench. His hands were on her waist at first, but as I watched, they slid lower, moving with a nerve that twisted my gut into knots. I stood there, frozen, trying to wrap my head around it. Was this a prank? Had she had one too many? But the way she smiled up at him, leaning into his frame, told a different story. My legs started moving before my brain caught up, carrying me across the room like I was wading through molasses, anger burning hotter with every step. When I got to them, I didn't yell or make a big fuss, just spoke loud enough to cut through the music and their little bubble. What in the world's happening here? She turned her head, slow and casual, like I'd butted into something serious. Her eyes locked on mine, not a flicker of guilt or embarrassment, just this maddening calm. I told him I'd dance this one with him, she said, her voice light, almost teasing. You're cool if I finish it, right? That guy flashed me a smirk then, sharp and mocking, pouring gas on the fire inside me. He didn't say a thing, just let his left hand drift lower, past her waist, making damn sure I noticed. Something in me broke. Before I knew it, my hand shot out, grabbing his collar and yanking him back so hard she stumbled a bit. Her shocked gasp barely hit my ears over the pounding in my head. His smug look vanished, replaced by wide-eyed shock as I shoved him, sending him crashing to the floor. The room went dead quiet. The music kept going, but it sounded far off, like it was part of a nightmare. Every eye in the place turned to us, whispers rippling through the crowd as folks tried to figure out what went down. The guy scrambled up, brushing off his clothes like he could salvage his pride, but the flush creeping up his neck gave him away. He shot me a glare, his mouth opening to spit something out, but I cut him off. You've got 2 seconds to get out of here, I growled, my voice low and razor sharp, the kind that says don't test me, or I'll put you back on the floor, and I won't be so gentle next time. The guy paused, shooting her a look like he thought she'd jump in to save his sorry hide. To my shock, she reached out, her fingers grazing his arm as if to steady him. Cut it out, she snapped at me, her voice laced with annoyance. You're turning this into a spectacle. Me, making a spectacle? I echoed, my voice climbing before I could rein it in. You're out here cozying up with some creep who's got wandering hands, and I'm the one causing a scene. Her eyes tightened, that cool exterior slipping just enough to show the stubborn spark underneath. You're blowing this way out of proportion, she said, her words sharp and clipped. It was nothing but a dance. Nothing but a dance. I stepped closer, dropping my voice but making sure every syllable landed hard. You're telling me what he was pulling counts as just dancing. Finally, the guy had enough, mumbling something I couldn't catch and slinking toward the exit, trying to act like he still had some pride. A few folks stepped aside to let him pass, their eyes bouncing between us like they were waiting for the next act in this mess. She watched him go for a second before whipping her gaze back to me, her lips pressed tight. You didn't need to go that far, she said, her tone accusing, like I was the one who'd crossed the line. My fists balled up at my sides, torn between wanting to shout and trying to hold on to the last shred of calm I had. Didn't need to. Are you for real? Do you even hear what you're saying right now? She folded her arms, tilting her chin up in that way that screamed she wasn't backing down an inch. It wasn't what you're making it out to be. I just stared, disbelief pumping through me like wildfire. What, you think I'm some kind of moron? Because that's sure what it feels like from where I'm standing. Her silence hit like a brick wall. She held my stare for a beat, her face impossible to read, then let out a quick, irritated huff and turned away, like I was the one wearing her out. You're making a mountain out of a molehill, she muttered, shaking her head like this was just some annoying little hiccup. Making a mountain? My voice broke, raw with anger, pulling a few more nosy glances from the crowd. I stepped closer, keeping my tone low but rock solid. You stood there while he put his hands all over you. You grinned at him, and now you've got the gall to act like I'm the issue. Her shoulders went rigid, and she spun back to face me, her expression cold as ice, all defiance. If you just had a little faith in me, you wouldn't have made a fool of yourself like this. I let out a short, bitter chuckle, the sound catching me off guard. Faith in you? You want to talk about trust when you're letting some guy's hands roam all over you in front of half the town? She flinched, her eyes flicking around like she just now noticed the crowd we'd drawn. Lower your voice, she hissed, her cheeks turning red, not from guilt, but from being ticked off. Oh, now you're worried about keeping things hush-hush. I fired back, the sarcasm dripping from my words. Where was that 5 minutes ago when you were? Enough. Her voice sliced through mine, sharp and in charge, but there was a shake in it. We're not hashing this out here. For a second, I just stood there, staring, her words sinking in like a punch to the gut. She wasn't saying sorry. She wasn't even trying to clear things up. She was shutting me down, like I was some kid throwing a fit. The crowd started to scatter, their interest fizzling as our fight cooled into something quieter, more personal. The music kept playing, couples dancing like nothing had gone down, but for me, the whole party vibe was shot. We'll hash this out later, she said at last, her voice icy and brushing me off like I was a nuisance. She spun around to walk away, acting like she could just shut down our fight on her terms. I shot my hand out, catching her wrist, not rough, just enough to hold her there. No way, we're talking about this right now, I said, keeping my voice low but rock steady. What's going on here? And don't you dare say it was nothing. She yanked her hand free, her face turning hard as stone. For a second, I thought she might actually explain, but then she just turned and strutted toward the bar, leaving me standing in the middle of the room, fuming, lost, and hit with the gut punch realization that something between us had cracked, and it wasn't for the better. I stood there, feeling like time had stopped, my pulse thundering in my ears. She didn't even glance back as she sashayed off, head high, her red dress swishing like it was taunting me with every step. The bar crowd swallowed her, folks laughing and chatting, clueless about the storm raging inside me. My fists clenched so hard my knuckles popped. This wasn't done, not by a mile. But before I could take a step, a hand slapped down on my shoulder. I whipped around, ready to snap at some do-gooder trying to cool me off, but it was worse. It was him. That cocky jerk was back. Hey, buddy, he said, his voice dripping with fake regret, that same infuriating smirk plastered on his face. Didn't mean to stir up any drama. She was just having fun, you know how it goes, don't you? I glared at him, his nerves slamming into me like a kick to the stomach. He wasn't even pretending to feel bad. If anything, he was eating this up, like it was some twisted game. I gave you a warning, I said, my voice trembling with rage I was barely holding back. His grin got wider, smug as ever. Come on, don't get all bent out of shape. If she didn't want to dance, she'd have spoken up, right? Maybe you ought to ask her why she didn't. Those words hit like a sledgehammer, worse than any punch. My grip on control started slipping, my vision fuzzing at the edges as the anger roared inside me. "You've got 2 seconds to get out of here before this turns nasty," I growled, my whole body coiled tight. He let out a sharp, mocking laugh that made my skin crawl. "Nasty? Buddy, I think it's already there." Then, just to dig the knife deeper, he added, "You should have seen the way she looked at me. Think she still looks at you like that?" That did it. I lost it. No thinking, no hesitation. My fist flew out, smashing into his jaw, the impact sending a jolt through my arm. He stumbled back, grabbing his face, but before he could pull himself together, I snatched his shirt and shoved him backward, crashing him into the nearest table. Glasses shattered, people screamed, and the room exploded into chaos. "Got anything else to say?" I snarled, holding him down as he squirmed under me. His hand swung up, catching my cheek in a sloppy hit. I barely felt it. All I saw was red. I pulled back to swing again, but suddenly, hands grabbed me, yanking me off him. Strong arms, 2, maybe 3 guys, hauled me back, their voices shouting over the commotion as I fought to break free. "Cool it," one of them barked. "Let me go." I roared, twisting against their grip. My eyes darted to my wife, still by the bar, drink in hand, watching the whole mess unfold. But there was no shock or worry on her face. Just irritation. She didn't budge, didn't run over to stop me, didn't say a single word. The guy I'd clocked staggered to his feet, swiping blood off his lip with a shaky hand. That smug grin was history, swapped for a hard, scheming stare. He straightened his collar, then shot a look at her. "You actually hitched yourself to this loser," he jeered, loud enough for the whole room to catch it. "No surprise you were fishing for something better." The place went dead quiet, his words hanging there like a lit fuse. I lunged for him again, but the guys pinning me clamped down harder, hauling me toward the exit. "Get him out of here before he does something dumber," one of them grumbled, sounding more fed up than worried. I thrashed, my voice hoarse as I bellowed, "You don't get to just walk away from this." But it was no good. They shoved me through the doors into the freezing night, the crowd's murmurs and chuckles fading behind me. The door slammed, and I was on my own. For a second, I just stood there, the cold wind cutting through my jacket, my breath coming in rough bursts. My hands shook, could have been the chill or the adrenaline, I wasn't sure. Then the door creaked open, and she stepped out. But instead of running to me, instead of saying sorry or clearing things up, she crossed her arms and fixed me with a glare. "What's your damn problem?" she snapped, her voice sharp, like I was the one who'd wrecked everything. I gaped at her, my head spinning. "My problem? You're kidding, right? You humiliated me," she fired back, stepping closer. "Do you realize how foolish you looked, picking a fight in the middle of the party? Folks'll be gossiping about this for weeks. You're humiliated." I shot back, my voice breaking under the weight of my fury. "You let that creep paw you right in front of everyone. You let him trash me, trash us, and you're worried about your reputation." She rolled her eyes, the move so dismissive it stung like a backhand. "Oh, come on. It was just a dance, not some scandal. You're acting paranoid." "Paranoid?" I closed the gap between us, my voice low and tight. "That's what you're calling this? Is that what he meant in there, talking about you hunting for something better?" Her face twisted into a scowl, but she didn't push back against it. My gut sank like a stone. "Nothing to say to that, huh?" She opened her mouth, then snapped it shut. Her silence screamed louder than any admission. And right then, something in me shattered. I stood there, staring, every muscle wound so tight I thought I'd break. Her silence wasn't a confession, it was worse. It was like she didn't care enough to bother explaining, didn't feel the need to deny or defend herself. In that moment, something changed deep inside me. The betrayal wasn't just her letting him touch her or letting him talk like I was nothing. No, the real knife in my back was her indifference. All the years we'd built, the sacrifices, the love, it was like none of it mattered to her anymore. "You're really not gonna say a word, are you?" I said, my voice low and bitter, dripping with venom. "Not even a sorry?" Her lips parted, but instead of the words I was aching for, she mumbled, "You're blowing this out of proportion, like always." That was it. "All right," I said, my voice calm in a way that spooked even me. "You think I'm overreacting? Let's see how I react now." I turned and walked away, the cold gnawing at me as I headed for the car. She didn't come after me, didn't even call my name. I didn't need to look back to know she was standing there, arms crossed, probably thinking I'd come crawling back like I'd done before. But not this time. The drive home was a haze, my brain spinning with a million thoughts. Memories of us, those golden days when I thought nothing could break us, flashed like a twisted movie reel. But then his smug face, her cold indifference, their mocking laughter, it all stung like poison, stoking the rage burning in my chest. By the time I rolled into the driveway, I'd made my choice. If she thought she could treat me like dirt and walk away unscathed, I'd show her just how far I could push when I stopped giving a damn. My plan started simple. Revenge wasn't about losing my temper, it was about staying in control. She figured she could trample me, embarrass me, and skip off without a scratch. She was in for a rude awakening. The next morning, I phoned work, called in sick, and got to work setting things up. First, I logged into our joint bank account and pulled out half the cash, my rightful share. Then I switched all the household bills, the streaming services, everything, into her name. Small time? Maybe. But this was just the warm-up. Next, I went digging into her digital tracks. I checked her phone records, her emails, her social media. She wasn't exactly sneaky, and it didn't take long to spot a pattern, a trail of clues that backed up my worst fears. Late-night messages to strange numbers, receipts for ritzy dinners I wasn't invited to, even charges for hotels on her so-called work trips. It wasn't just that guy. There were others. My blood boiled with a mix of anger and nausea, but I kept my cool. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd show her how the game was really played. I collected it all, screenshots, receipts, dates and times. I wasn't just gonna call her out, I was gonna tear down the fake life she'd built on her web of lies. The big move came that weekend. We were set to host a little dinner party, just a handful of close friends, something she'd been planning for weeks. She was always obsessive about these events, making sure the house sparkled, the food was flawless, her perfect image untarnished. I decided it was the ideal moment to strike. When the night rolled around, I played my part, grinning and chatting like everything was fine. She had on that same red dress from the party, and it twisted my gut, but I didn't let it show. The guests were settled, glasses clinking as they toasted to whatever. She soaked up the spotlight, laughing, her charm dialed up to 11. It was disgusting how effortlessly she wore that fake smile. When dessert hit the table, I stood, raising my glass. "Hold up a sec," I said, flashing a grin. "I've got a little something to say before we dive in." She glanced at me, caught off guard but pleased. She loved being the star of the show. "Thanks for coming out tonight, everybody," I started, keeping my tone friendly. "It's been a rough few days, but having you all here means the world." Her eyebrows pinched just a bit, like she sensed a shift, but she stayed quiet. "And I gotta give a special shout out to my wife," I went on, turning to her, "for teaching me how much honesty matters in a marriage." The room fell dead quiet, her smile slipping away like it had been slapped off. "See, here's the thing," I said, my tone turning sharp, "it's real easy to assume the person you're with will stick around forever, no matter how you treat them." I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. "But sometimes, they've got a surprise up their sleeve." The big TV on the wall flickered on, flashing a slideshow of her secrets, screenshots of her flirty texts with other guys, receipts from her sneaky outings, photos I'd dug up from her cloud account. The room filled with stunned gasps as the truth hit home. Her face went white as a sheet, her eyes wide with pure panic. "What in God's name are you doing?" she hissed, her voice low but shaking with fear. "Just laying out the facts," I said, my tone ice-cold, "since you don't seem too keen on doing it yourself." The place exploded into a mess of whispers, her friends muttering to each other, some staring at her in shock, others turning away like they couldn't stomach it. She shot to her feet, lunging for the remote, but I blocked her path. "No point," I said. "The cat's out of the bag." She wheeled on me, her eyes burning with fury. "You son of a bitch," she snarled, her cool facade finally crumbling. "Nah," I said, my voice steady and final. "That's you." With that, I grabbed my jacket and walked out, leaving her to deal with the mess she'd made. The aftermath came fast. I had divorce papers filed by the next morning. By the end of the week, I'd settled into a little downtown apartment, taking only what belonged to me. Didn't need much, just some quiet. As for her, the gossip spread like wildfire. Those texts, those photos, the rumors, they all came crashing back on her. That perfect image she'd worked so hard to keep up was in pieces, her friends giving her the cold shoulder, her reputation shot to hell. I didn't give a damn. She'd made her bed, and now she could lie in it. As for me, for the first time in forever, I felt like I could finally breathe.